A few videos ago, we married the Panorama system and our Firewall 1 and told them, get along, meaning the Panorama has the ability now to manage our firewall, and the firewall is willing to go ahead and let Panorama manage it. However, what wasn't brought in was all the configuration, the security policy rules, the security profiles, the NAT information. None of that, as far as the details, were brought into Panorama. So in this video, I'd like to walk you through how we can bring in that configuration so that Panorama knows about the zones and all the policies and everything else that the firewall is currently using, and also let the firewall know, hey, as Panorama, as your manager, you can still use those settings. And here is how we pull that off. Here in Panorama, to bring in the configuration of that managed device, let's first of all verify that we have that managed device. So with Panorama selected, over here on the left, we'll go under Manage Devices, click on Summary, and there is our Palo Alto firewall. Its current state is connected. Fantastic. So how do we bring in all the configuration that Firewall 1 is currently using and bring it into Panorama? The answer is we back everything up, which is not a bad idea. So on Panorama, we go to click on Panorama, and then click on Setup here on the left, and then under Operations, we'd want to make sure we save our configuration here. So we could do an export named Panorama configuration snapshot. And that way, if we ever need to restore it or start over, we can. It's also not a bad idea to do that before we start onboarding hosts. And then on the firewall, we'd want to take the appropriate steps as well. Again, this looks a little funny because of the dark mode. Let me turn that off for a moment here. There we go. So here at Firewall 1, we'd also go to Device. On the left, we click on Setup. Then we go to the Operations sub-tab here. And then we could certainly save a named configuration, but also we could export the device state. And what that's going to do is going to download to your local computer a .tgz file, which if you need to later, you can go ahead and import device state to bring the firewall back to the way it was. All right, so with our backups done, going back to Panorama, let me go full screen. What we would do here is click on Panorama, which is currently where we're at. On the left, click on Setup, which is currently where we are. And again, under Operations, we're going to choose this option at the very bottom, Import Device Configuration to Panorama. So we'll click on Import Device Configuration to Panorama, and then it's asking us which device. Now we only have one firewall, so it's going to show up here. We'll select it. I don't have a firewall master key that I'm using, so we don't need to fill that in. But this is the part that's absolutely brilliant. It's going to pull the configuration from Firewall 1 regarding network and device, meaning all the stuff that's under those two major tabs on the firewall. And it's going to create a brand new template with those settings. So we don't have to call it PAFW1. In fact, we'll change that here in a moment. But that's where it's going to bring them in. It's going to take all those settings off the firewall, put them in a template, and then it's going to assign that template to that firewall. And similar treatment for objects and policies. It's going to pull those from the firewall, and it's going to create a new device group. And we can change the name here of that as well. And for the template, let's go ahead and call it, this is going to go in Vegas. Let's call it Vegas template. And for the device group, we'll call it Vegas group. So I'm creating a new template and a new device group that are going to be basically focused on all the settings that Firewall 1 is currently using. So we'll go ahead with that in place. We'll click on OK. All right, it's working on it. So it says the configuration of that device was imported to Panorama. And if we click on Close, and with Panorama selected over on the left, if we go down to Templates, we should have a new template. There we go. There's the Vegas template and a Vegas template stack. Effectively, what it did was it took the Vegas template, which is the settings regarding network and device off Firewall 1, and then it created a stack and it simply put the template in the stack. So it's basically a stack of 1 right there. And it's associated with PAFW1. And that's why I avoided associating any templates or any template stacks with that firewall, because if we put this guy in a group or associate templates, when we import the configuration as we just did, it's not going to be as clean or easy. And regarding its configuration that we'd find under policies and objects, that's going to be under device groups. Let's take a look. So if we click on device groups, just below templates. So now here we have the Vegas group, which it just created based on the settings under the policies and objects tab on Firewall 1. So here I put it right under shared. In fact, let's do this. I'm going to take this Vegas device group and I'm not using it. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the empty one there. So with it selected, I'll click on delete and click on yes. And I'm going to put the Vegas group under Nevada. So for Vegas group, which is the one that Firewall 1 is currently using and associated with, we'll go ahead and click on that. And I'm just going to put it under Nevada right there. And that'll just change where it falls in the hierarchy. And there's a check there because it's currently associated with Vegas group. And we'll click on OK. And then we'll go ahead and click on commit. And I'll go ahead and commit to Panorama. So I'll go ahead and click on commit again. And when we import a firewall like that and we get new groups and new templates, it's important to make sure that's all synced up and working. So one last step we're going to take is with Panorama still selected up here on the right. On the left, we're going to go over to Setup, and under Operations, which is also where we just did the import device config a few minutes ago, we are going to select Export or Push Device Config Bundle. So there's the title right there, Export or Push Device Config Bundle. We're going to choose the firewall from which we just made the new group and template. We'll select it. Again, I'm not using master key, so I don't have to provide one here. And we'll click on OK. It's asking us to confirm the push and commit, so we'll do that by clicking on Push and Commit. And away it goes. And it's going to make sure this finishes. So here it says file transfer to device was started. File transfer was completed. Oh, this all looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and click on Close. And then it also said to go to the firewall and make sure the commit happened at the firewall. So if we go back to firewall 1 for a moment here, and I'll put back on dark mode to confirm which device we're on. So here on firewall 1, if we wanted to confirm our commit, we could go to Task Manager down here, and that commit is going. So I'm going to let that finish and confirm that that commit happens. And everything's synced up between Panorama and that managed device with its associated device group and template. All right, that looks like it's finishing. Let's go head back to Panorama for a moment. And then we can take a look at the details of both the templates and the device groups. So if we went to Policies, for example, and we selected the device group we just imported by clicking on it here, here's showing us all the security rules that are currently in place over on Firewall 1, which is fantastic. So the intent is now, going forward, we can do virtually all of our management at Panorama. Now, the question is it going to work? I'm curious too. In the next video, let's actually make some configuration changes on Panorama, and we'll push them out to the firewall and verify that it works. And so we'll do that in the next video. I'll see you there in just a moment. Meanwhile, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.